There is a food sitting in roughly 93% of American refrigerators right now. It has been called a superfood. It has been called a silent killer. Government agencies warned us away from it for decades. Then quietly they reverse course, and most people never got the memo. Eggs, you've eaten thousands of them. You think you know what they do to your body. But the study that terrified an entire generation into avoiding eggs was fundamentally misread. And when you understand what it actually said, it changes everything you thought you knew. So before you decide whether to eat eggs tomorrow morning, stay with this. Because what happens inside your body over 30 days is not what any doctor's office poster ever told you. Here's what most people believe. Eggs are loaded with cholesterol. Cholesterol clogs your arteries. Clogged arteries cause heart attacks. Simple chain, logical, and almost entirely wrong. That chain of logic was built in the 1960s based on studies done on rabbits, animals whose bodies process cholesterol in a completely different way than humans do. That research got applied to human dietary guidelines, and for 40 years the egg became the villain of the American breakfast table. But here's where it gets interesting. Your body already makes cholesterol every single day, and it has a built-in feedback system that most people have never been told about. When you eat more cholesterol, your liver makes less. When you eat less, it makes more. The body is regulating itself constantly. Eggs didn't break that system. The science just wasn't looking in the right place. So what is actually inside an egg? One large egg contains about 70 calories, 6 grams of high-quality protein, and yes, around 186 milligrams of dietary cholesterol, almost entirely in the yolk. But that yolk is also where something extraordinary lives. Choline. Most Americans have never heard of it, and most Americans are deficient in it. Choline is essential for brain cell membrane structure, for the production of acetylcholine, one of your brain's primary communication chemicals, and for liver function. One egg gives you roughly 35% of your daily choline needs. There is almost no other single food that delivers it as efficiently. The yolk also contains lutein and zeaxanthin, two compounds your retina depends on to filter damaging light. It contains vitamin D, which 42% of Americans are deficient in. It contains B12, selenium, and healthy unsaturated fats. This is not a dangerous food. This is one of the most nutrient-dense foods that exists in nature. And here's the part that should make you pause. Almost all of it was hidden inside the part we were told to throw away. Within the first day of eating eggs consistently, your body begins absorbing that choline and routing it directly to your brain. Acetylcholine synthesis gets a boost, and acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter tied to memory formation, focus, and mental clarity. Many people notice nothing on day one, but the machinery is already shifting. Your digestive system is also responding. The protein in eggs, called albumin, is among the most bioavailable proteins on Earth. Your gut absorbs it with very little waste. And because protein takes longer to digest than simple carbohydrates, your hunger hormones, specifically ghrelin, stay suppressed for longer than they would after a carb-heavy breakfast. You're fuller without trying. By the end of the first week, something measurable is happening to your lipid profile, but probably not what you expected. Studies consistently show that whole egg consumption raises HDL cholesterol. HDL is what cardiologists call the cleanup crew. It pulls excess cholesterol out of your arteries and carries it back to the liver for processing. More HDL is generally associated with lower cardiovascular risk. And eggs raise it. Your metabolism is also responding to the steady protein load. The thermic effect of food, the energy your body burns just to digest what you ate, is significantly higher for protein than for fat or carbohydrates. Eggs are pushing your metabolism to work harder, just to process them. 2 weeks in, your skin and eyes may begin reflecting internal changes. The lutein and zeaxanthin from the yolk accumulate in your macula, the central part of your retina, and start building a natural filter against blue light and oxidative damage. Researchers have found measurable increases in macular pigment density within weeks of consistent egg consumption. Meanwhile, your hormones are quietly benefiting. Eggs contain healthy fats and cholesterol that serve as precursors to steroid hormones, including testosterone and estrogen. Your body needs dietary fat and cholesterol to produce these hormones. People on extremely low-fat, low-cholesterol diets often show suppressed hormone levels. Eggs are providing raw material your endocrine system depends on. At the 30-day mark, the research picture becomes clearer. Multiple randomized controlled trials, the gold standard of nutrition science, have found that daily whole egg consumption does not significantly raise LDL cholesterol in most healthy adults. What it does raise is HDL, and it shifts LDL particles from small, dense, the more dangerous form, to large, buoyant, the less dangerous form. Brain function studies show improved memory performance in adults who consume choline-rich diets consistently. Body composition studies show that egg-eating groups tend to preserve lean muscle mass better than groups eating equivalent calories from other sources. This is not a dangerous food after 30 days. The data says the opposite. Let's address the myths directly, because they are still everywhere. Myth 1: eating eggs raises your bad cholesterol dangerously. For roughly 70% of the population, dietary cholesterol has minimal impact on LDL levels. The remaining 30%, called hyper-responders, do see a modest rise in LDL, but also a proportional rise in HDL, keeping the ratio largely stable. The blanket warning was never accurate for most people. Myth 2: you should only eat egg whites. This one is particularly frustrating. The white contains protein, yes, but the yolk contains virtually all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the choline, all the healthy fats. Throwing away the yolk to avoid cholesterol is like squeezing the juice out of an orange and eating only the peel. You've removed the entire point. Myth 3: eggs cause heart disease. The largest meta-analyses, studies that combine data from hundreds of thousands of people, have found no significant association between egg consumption and cardiovascular disease in healthy populations. The American Heart Association itself updated its guidance. Up to 1 egg per day is considered acceptable even for people with heart risk factors. That's a massive reversal from what was being said 30 years ago. This is not a claim that eggs are risk-free for every single person. People with type 2 diabetes show more variable responses to egg consumption in some studies, though the research here is genuinely mixed and still evolving. People with a rare genetic condition called familial hypercholesterolemia, which affects about 1 in 250 Americans, process cholesterol abnormally and should work closely with a physician on dietary cholesterol intake. And people with existing severe cardiovascular disease should discuss egg consumption with their cardiologist rather than drawing conclusions from a YouTube video. For the vast majority of healthy adults, the science is clear. The fear was not proportionate to the evidence. The egg is one of the most complete, nutrient-dense foods in the human diet. The cholesterol narrative that dominated public health messaging for 4 decades was built on flawed science, applied to the wrong species, and slow-walked out of official guidance long after the damage was done. Millions of people avoided a genuinely healthy food, or worse, replaced it with processed alternatives that did far more harm. The truth is simpler than the controversy made it seem. Whole eggs eaten consistently support brain health, hormonal function, metabolic efficiency, eye health, and cardiovascular markers, in ways the science now consistently supports. The real question was never whether eggs are good or bad. The real question is why it took the scientific establishment 40 years to correct something the data was showing all along, and what else on your plate is still waiting for the same correction.